What is up, you guys? It is Zach, and welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a little bit different than most. As you can tell, it's very long. It's actually going to be a little bit of a boring video, so apologies, but it is about something very exciting, and that is the Cosmic Relief. That's right, you guys, the Cosmic Relief is coming. So let me explain why this video is so long. This first intro segment is going to be talking about what the Cosmic Relief is and give you guys a buttload of information about the event. And then the second part of the video, which is going to be the longer part of the video, is going to be talking about why mental health matters to me. I'm going to give an early trigger warning, even though I think I already flashed a little thing at the very beginning of this video. This is going to be some very deep and sensitive stuff, so you know, you guys will have to be prepared for that. There's a lot of deep and dark stuff because I already did record that part of the video. But let's talk about the fun stuff first, which is the event itself. So the big question for this event is, what charity are we going to be supporting this year? In years past, we've done charities like Doctors Without Borders, we've done Color of Change, and we've done the CDC Foundation. This year, we're going to go a completely different route, and we're going to be focusing on mental health, which is a very important topic for me, obviously, and I actually got to choose the charity, which is pretty cool. And the charity we are going to be supporting this year is the Center for Suicide Awareness. They do a lot of work in bringing awareness to, obviously, you know, people who are attempting suicide. They give aid and help, and they do a lot of different things. If you want to know more specifically what they do, I'm going to leave a link to their website in the description down below, and you can check out all the information you want about them, because obviously this event is about raising money for them. So to know where your money is going towards, check out the link in the description down below. So I bet the question that you guys all have is, when is this event going to happen? When is it taking place? And it is going to be happening on the weekend of January 20th. So I believe that's Friday, January 20th to Sunday, January 22nd. So that is when the event's going to happen. We're going to have a bunch of content creators streaming, and there's still more things that we need to kind of, you know, build up and work on before we can truly announce them. But just know that announcements will be done on, obviously, my channel, Riders DX's channel, who actually he was going to upload a video. I don't know if it's up or not by the time I upload this video. If it is, I'll link it in the description down below or put a card up on screen. But the most reliable and fastest way to get information on this event is to check out the Cosmic Relief Twitter page. On there, you'll find announcements as they happen. We will be sharing videos from other content creators who are talking about the event, and we're just going to try and really boost and market the event through this Twitter page. So if you have a Twitter, I highly recommend you checking out the Twitter page. Link in the description down below. The last major announcement I want to make about the event itself is that I am having the absolute honor of creating merchandise specifically for that event. So there's going to be another link down in the description down below. That's a lot of links for me to remember to put down there, where at that link you can check out our Cosmic Relief merchandise page. Any item you buy off there, all of the profits made from that item will be donated to the Center for Suicide Awareness. So very exciting stuff there. So there's things like, there's this cool all over tee. This is like our special edition t-shirt where you know, it's an all over print. It's really good quality. You have the year and the charity you're supporting on the arms. We also have t-shirts and sweatshirts that are designed with the logo, just, you know, plain and simple, so that if you're more of a low-key casual clothing kind of wearer, you'll probably enjoy these. There's a coffee mug if you want something a little bit on the cheaper side, but also want to give a good amount of money to charity. And of course, it rocks the Cosmic Relief logo as well as the logo of the charity we are raising money towards. And lastly, but surely not least, at least for now, there's more things in the works that'll be up on that store within the following weeks. We also have this special edition Riders DX theme shirt sold nowhere else, where it says, "Hello there, beautiful humans." Riders DX's iconic intro saying for each one of his videos. If any of those items interest you, remember, all those profits go to the charity. I'll probably, since I have access to the page and I know how much money is raised through the merchandise, I will probably be the one doing the donation, probably towards the end of the event. So definitely check all that stuff out. There's a lot of fun stuff in store, and I cannot wait for this event to happen. I'm also thinking about putting this shirt on there. This is a ZakPak Battle for Bikini Bottom themed shirt. If this is a shirt you're interested in, I might do a Cosmic Relief variant of this shirt. So if you like it, let me know. Let me know down in the comments down below. You can get it from my merch shop now, but I might do a special version on the Cosmic Relief shop. So let me know. I think that's all of the announcements I have. So without any further ado, we're going to lead into the next segment, which I've already recorded. And it's all about what mental health means to me. And like I said, it does get a bit dark. I actually do end up crying in the video. So it's a really deep and personal subject for me. So if that's something you guys are interested in, go ahead and watch it. I really would love you all to hear my story, hear what I have to say. But if it'll be too much for you, I completely understand. So thank you guys so much for watching, and without any further ado, let's go into the next segment. But I really wanted to take this opportunity to share my story and get it out there, and hopefully inspire some of you guys to share your stories if you're comfortable, and maybe even get help if you need it and you're not getting it. So that's what this video is going to be all about, honestly. I will say I'm not really going to be editing this video because of the length of it and because I want it to be more authentic. So don't mind me if I slow down, if I stutter, if I drink a little bit of water, because this one's going to be a doozy. I'm basically going to be running you guys through my life. You guys are going to hear my life and how it all relates to how I am mentally and all the different things that I, am. So buckle in. This is going to be a fun one. So let's start off with, let me start off with the mental disabilities that I have, because I actually spent most of my life undiagnosed, simply because of the fact that until I was like a teenager, I really suppressed a lot of my stuff. But like when I was a teenager, when I really started to show all these symptoms, I didn't get checked out. I honestly did probably something I shouldn't have done, even though it actually ended up working for me, is I moved. I left the location I was at in hoping this school, a different school would be better than the school I was at. And it actually did end up working, but that doesn't work for everyone. So I'm not going to say I recommend you all do that. But that's what happened with me. But let's start off, like I said, with what I've got. Obviously, I've got major depressive disorder, which is depression. Like, depression. We all know what depression is. General anxiety disorder, or anxiety. We all know what anxiety is. But for those of you who need a little more clarification on both, depression is obviously very low, just mood, just not as happy as everyone else. I'm putting it in very layman's terms because I don't even know the medical definitions of these. I didn't research them. It's just how I feel. And anxiety, anxiety is hard because some people have different kinds of anxiety, but like just a general anxiety of like getting really nervous, getting shy, just like if a lot's going on, you just like curl up in a ball, like that kind of feeling where you just want to curl up into a ball like an armadillo, like that kind of feeling. But I also have a disorder now. I'll be honest, I don't really know how to define this one, so I'll try my best to define it for you guys. Is borderline personality disorder, or BPD. Now, what this one basically is, it's basically mood swings, where sometimes, like, my mood can just shift. Like, I could be in such a great mood, I can be happy, I can be social, I can be talkative, I can be, like, amazing. But then as soon, like, sometimes it's unprovoked. Sometimes I could be having the time of my life, sometimes I could be great. But then all of a sudden there's a shift, and then my mood just goes. Like, I'm not social, I'm closed off, I'm reserved, I get shy, I get really, really introverted. Like, I'm an introvert kind of by nature, but like when I'm in a bad mood, like when that switch flips, I'm just reclusive. I just don't want to interact. I'll try to force myself sometimes, which does end up hurting me in some ways, but like there's nothing I can do about it. So now that you know, oh, and I have insomnia, but like that one's kind of weird. Like like there's some times where like I cannot sleep at all. Sometimes I just do I just only sleep. It's kind of weird. I have some sleeping disorder. I think like they said it's insomnia, but I'm not too sure about it. But that's what I've been diagnosed with. So, hey. So let's go into the walk of what made me become who I am. Because, like I said, everyone's life story is different, and who you are and who you're shaped to be is completely different because, like I said, not all of us have the same lives. So how did I become who I am? Let's start at the very beginning. Well, maybe not the very beginning, but let's start like elementary school. So when I was in elementary school, I think one thing that really ended up shaping me and my mental health is how much I moved as a kid. Particularly in the elementary ages when you're really trying to build, you need to develop your social skills at that age. Learn social etiquette and manners and just, learning how to interact with other kids. Like, that's what elementary school is for. Well, one of the reasons of elementary school. And I think I went to like 4 or 5 maybe different elementary schools when I was a kid. And granted, there's only freaking 5 grades, and it's like it was just hard because, I'd be moving around a lot. I wouldn't have consistent childhood friends. It was just kind of a really hard time, to really make connections and friendships when I was moving so often. I can't say, here's the thing I'll say about my life also, like in a general broad sense. My life isn't bad. Like, I have a pretty decent life. I would consider myself a privileged, lucky individual. There are so many people out there who have so many things worse than I do, and I'm blessed for the life I have. I really am. But that doesn't discount any mental disorders that I may have. Like, it doesn't discount any of that because how you feel and what goes on up here is completely valid. Like, that's just how you are. It's how you feel. Like, it's valid. So, in elementary school, there was nothing wrong. I mean, like I said, I moved around a lot. My parents, separated when I was like 4 or so. So, I had my parents divorced, but I was too young to really know what was going on. School life was great. I lived, at least for like a lot of time, I lived in an area where it was a not so great area to live in. There's a little bit of crime and drug use, and my family was told that, before we went to the middle school that we should leave the district because middle school is rough and it changes you. And like I said, we moved a bunch. But where I think all the where I started to be shaped and my mental stuff where it really started, I think, was middle school. Obviously, middle school is hell for everyone. Like, let's be real. Middle school is hard for everyone out there. And again, not saying that my middle school experience is the worst ever or that, people didn't have it worse than me. But given the fact that I had a hard time making friendships when I was younger and socializing when I was younger, middle school, I really was kind of lost because even though I moved a lot in elementary school, it was all it was in the same state. I lived in New Jersey. So I was in the same general state and area. I mean, in 4th grade, I moved to upstate New York. So my last year in elementary school, I moved to upstate New York, which is where I also spent middle school. But I felt it was a lot harder because of the fact that, like, I was from Jersey. I was a Jersey kid, kind of like a, city-ish area. I mean, at one point, I literally lived right by the beach, down the shore. Like, it's completely different than upstate New York, where I lived in upstate New York was very rural, country, cows and farms and, all that kind of stuff. Like, it was a complete 180 from where I had lived before. So I had naturally always thought myself as a social outcast in that new school. And granted, I did decently well. Like, I did okay with friends. Like, I had my friends, and some of whom I still keep in contact with today. If you guys know Hannah from my Phasmophobia videos, she's the one that, she's from middle school. She's a friend that I had back then, a really close friend that I had back then, and we disconnected, but that's a whole other story that I'm sure she wouldn't want me to tell. But, besides, a couple people, I just had a hard time fitting in with the general crowd because of how different I was and how different I felt. And I got bullied quite a bit in middle school by loads of different people just because of who I was, and one thing, especially in 7th and 8th grade, that really came up a lot from a particular group of boys in our school, and even a couple girls actually did this as well to me, is I have a relatively, as you guys probably know from me, I've got a pretty flamboyant personality. I'm pretty, like, I'm not the most manly, strong, confident kind of guy. Like, that's just not me. I'm just me. And granted, I'm a lot different now than I was back then. So I think I was a little more flamboyant back then, too. But regardless, I was often called gay in school. Like, people like, oh, Zach's gay. He's this. Like, I had one bully who literally every time I saw him, his nickname for me was Chode. Like, hey, Chode, what's up? Like, and he didn't mean it in, like, like a friend joking kind of way. He meant it in being a dick kind of way, and that obviously wasn't meant to be a pun. But for those of you who don't know what chode means, it means small penis. It means you have a small penis, like your junk is small. And as a 14-year-old, that really kind of goes at your self-esteem. I mean, I don't know why it affected me. Like, I don't know why it affected me so much, but, like, it did. And then this same kid, I remember one day in the school locker rooms, changing for gym, he had stolen my shoes and thrown them into one of the toilets. And then another kid, I think it was unintentional, but he didn't apologize for it, is he, like, kicked off a boot that he was wearing, and it flew through the air. And it was a steel-toed boot, mind you, because remember, up there, hillbilly cowboys wear steel-toed boots. Yeah, it hit me right in the head. Like, tons of that different stuff happened to me as a kid. I really didn't get I got into one fight. Which the teachers then broke up and asked me if I was okay and all that. But it was like, it just sucked. It really sucked, So, on top of everything else going on at the time, with being bullied at school, and just not really feeling like I fit in, and living in the middle of nowhere where I didn't have any neighbors, so there were no neighborly kids I can hang out with after school. The only semblance of home that I really felt at that school was in 7th and 8th grade. I was on the track team and the cross country team. And they were like my family. I mean, I loved my team. There were some people I had some beef with on the team, but like it wasn't anything crazy. And I did actually date someone on the team who broke up with me right before a meet, which sucked. But other than that, there wasn't much on that team, there wasn't much drama. And they were the only people who, at that point in my life that I truly, loved, I thought, as my family. But even then, I wasn't particularly close to many people on the team. They just didn't bully me, which I think was the big thing for me. Is like, oh my God, these people respect me. They treat me as one of their own. They don't bully me. They don't make fun of me. They don't do this. So, whatever. And actually, let me also say another story. I think this is in 8th grade. Yeah, this is in 8th grade. So how schools have spirit weeks and all that, where it's there's pajama day, there's twin day, there's school spirit day, things like that. Well, one of the days that we had during this event was breast cancer awareness day, where you showed support for breast cancer awareness by wearing pink. And so I naturally showed up to school wearing pink to support breast cancer awareness. Now, I was the only boy in our grade, I think, to show up wearing pink. The only boy. So, and not to mention, I didn't have any pink shirts. I just didn't own any. So, I had to wear one of my mom's pink shirts. Because I was like, I want to wear a pink shirt. And it wasn't like a girly top. It was just a straight pink shirt. Hot pink, just like a shirt. It was a little tight. It was a tighter shirt. But, it wasn't really, and that adds to the gay thing. But, it wasn't flower, it wasn't an extravagant shirt. It was just, like I said, a pink shirt. And I got bullied so bad that day by so many different people. And especially in my art class, there was one person in particular who was just going after me the whole entire class. The art teacher gave me a shirt to change into so that it would stop. That's the kind of stuff I dealt with in middle school. Just a bunch of bullying, right? And that's a middle school thing, right? I mean, you get it in high school and even elementary school a bit. But, it was just relentless in middle school. It was relentless. And in 8th grade, I started to develop depression. I mean, obviously, like I said, didn't get diagnosed until many years later. But that's when it started. And I think the thing that really, lit was the straw that broke the camel's back was the fact that my grandfather had passed away early in 2012 when I was in 8th grade. My grandfather, he lived in England. He's my grandfather from England, because some of you guys might know, I go over to England quite a bit because I've got family over there. And my grandfather from over there passed away about almost 11 years ago now. And it was so sad for me because I didn't really see him much because obviously he was way over there. I was there when he passed away, actually. It was just after Christmas. It was like the very beginning of January. So it was like just after Christmas. We were over there. He was sent to the hospital, and he unfortunately passed away when we were there. And I remember just being so heartbroken. And it was from that moment on, January of 2012, it changed me. That was the final straw of what just made me depressed. You know, I had issues before then as well. Obviously, like I said, I was bullied. I constantly had emotional lashes and all. Like, that was stuff I always had. But the depression really started then. And it led to me, you know, eventually a couple months later, feeling suicidal. Like, I literally felt suicidal. Like, I didn't even really know what suicidal was. Because mental health, I mean, at least, I don't know if it was like a time thing back in 2012 or if it was just my school, but mental health wasn't really talked about. It wasn't something that was brought up with kids and how to handle it. Our school had a counselor, which after it came out that I became suicidal, I was referred to that counselor for the rest of the school year. I got pulled out of classes, you know, constantly, which felt super awkward. Like, you know, like it would be like in the middle of class, and that's when my appointment was, so I'd have to be escorted out. It was so awkward. I just remember walking out of classes, just like feeling like, oh my god, it felt awkward. Like, and I love that counselor. It was nothing against her or anything. It just felt awkward, you know. So, you know, I was just so sad and upset. And then in July of that year, July of 2012, after I had finished 8th grade. I remember my mom, our family always holds parties. That's our thing. We always had a 4th of July party and a Halloween party back in those days. And we had a 4th of July party, obviously, 4th of July party. And I remember I did not have a good time. I was sad. I was angry. I lashed out at people. I was just not me. I was not me, and I was not doing good. So, I remember the exact moment this happened. We were bringing one of my old friends home. Me and him don't talk anymore, but we were bringing one of my friends home. And when we dropped him off, my mom looked at me and she asked me, I can tell you're not doing good up here. Do you want to move down with your father in New York City? And I said yes as soon as she said it. And literally a week later, I had moved. Like, that's how quickly I felt like I had to get out of there. Like, 1 week after my mom asked me that, I had packed my stuff and left. Like, I always felt bad because I didn't say goodbye to the few actual friends I did have at that old school, but I was like, I need to get out of here. So, I moved to New York City, and I'm going to kind of glaze through the high school stuff because my depression, I don't want to say my depression went away in high school. I had lots of, you know, down moments and stressful moments because it's high school. But I was genuinely a much happier person in high school. And this is where I'll actually point you guys to my earliest videos. So the first video I ever posted on my channel was from December of 2012. So this is right after all of that stuff happened that I just told you about, like literally less than half a year later. And you could see, if you watch those videos, how quiet I was, how shy I was, how timid and unsure of myself I was. And granted, I still am in a lot of ways unsure of myself and not confident, whatever. But you could see it in those videos. You could really see, like, that I was not in a good place. And then you could see, until 2016, when I graduated high school, you could see how that all built up and how I changed as a person throughout that time. I got into student government in school, which I could have never imagined me doing at that age. Student government, I remember, like, I couldn't even do anything in school. I was just being so scared of being bullied out of it or laughed out of it. Meanwhile, here I am in high school, going to student government, doing all this stuff. Like, it was insane for me. And, just a bunch of different stuff. And I made loads of friends. I made loads of friends in high school. It was just such a different experience. And I honestly loved it. So, fast forward, I graduate high school, everything's grand. I do remember at the very end of high school, my depression did actually kind of come back. But that was because of a decision I made for money reasons and the fact that my father was moving out of New York City. that I was going to move back upstate for college. I remember just being like, oh my God, I'm going back. Like, I'm going back to the place that nearly destroyed me. And, at the end of senior year, I was so upset. But when I started college, admittingly, my first year in college, I had a genuine great time. My first semester in college, or my first year in college, I had great roommates overall. I loved my roommates. We all had a great time. We had a blast. I made a decent amount of friends. Not a lot, but I made a small, group of friends that, I would, go to. I joined a club my second semester and actually met a really good friend of mine, Paige. We don't talk as much anymore, but she became my roommate the following year. I'll mention Paige in that. Paige will come back later as well as the following year. I actually met a girl that I was talking to. Her name was, actually, I'm not going to share her name. I'm not going to share her name because that's a more negative story. But I met a girl that I was talking to at the time. It was just a great year overall. But that summer, after my first college semester, the girl that I was talking to, basically, I had figured out that while we were talking, so I don't want to get too into it, but basically, we talked for about 6 months-ish, but the reason we didn't actually get together was because when we started talking, she had just gotten out of a relationship, and, I didn't want to cause any issues, so I was like, take as long as you need, whatever. 6 months later, I figure out from my roommate, the new roommate, Paige, that she's dating someone. So, I was like, oh, that's kind of awkward because we were talking and doing all this stuff. So, I was heartbroken. At the start of my second semester, I got a job on campus, which ended up being the worst job I could have ever gotten. It was an RA. It was an RA job. So I was an RA twice in 2 different schools. So the first time I was an RA sucked. It freaking sucked. My residents sucked. My floor sucked. My coworkers did not like me. My supervisor did not like me. My real higher-ups wanted me gone. It was just such a negative environment. And a bunch of stuff was going on between my residents on the floors. I can't say too much because of confidentiality reasons, and I don't want to, I don't want to break anyone's trust in case anyone ends up watching this video, which I know they won't, but think of anything that can go wrong on a college campus dorm room floor. It's happened. I've had it happen. I'll say it. I've had drug overdose, suicide attempt, 2 cease and desist orders thrown at each other for people on the floor, so one resident couldn't go on to the other side of the hall. I had one resident that tried to emotionally lead me on after I'm guessing it's because she knew of my recent heartbreak and that I was emotionally unstable and just just kind of all over the place. I think she used that to her advantage and tried to flirt with me, all that kind of stuff. Just very, very bad. So bad that in October of my sophomore year in college, so October of 2017, I started to feel that suicidal feeling again. And it got really bad. It got so bad that I went into the college and I went to the college counselor's office where, like a school counselor, right? So I went to the college counselor's office and I was like, I need to speak to a counselor now. It's important. Usually you have to set up an appointment, but I'm like, listen, I need someone now. I've never been here before, but I just need someone now. And to their credit, they were very accommodating, and they got me one of the counselors right then and there. And I had told her how I was feeling and what I was feeling, and I don't remember exactly what I said, but I told her kind of a little bit of my story, and I said, those feelings are coming back up. And, she just asked me straight out, are you feeling suicidal? And it took me a second to think. And I said, I'm really not sure. I just don't know. I could be, I might not be, I don't know. My head is all over the place. So she recommended me go to the hospital. And I did. I mean, I wasn't going to say I don't need help. I mean, that's the whole reason I went there in the first place. Her advice for me was to go to the hospital. So, I did. I went to the hospital and they admitted me into a psychiatric unit, which I know people are going to be like, what? Zach went to a psych ward? I did. Twice. Second story coming up later. But, it's funny. The first time I was at the hospital, the first time I was in the psych unit, I'm not gonna say I liked it, because obviously I didn't, but I had a pleasant experience. The nurses were really, really nice. They were helpful with me trying to, because like that's when I got diagnosed. That's when I got diagnosed with everything. I was in the hospital for a week, and that's when I was diagnosed with basically everything that was wrong with me. And they put me on these medications, which after 6 months I stopped using because they made me sick. They made me lose an unhealthy amount of weight. Excuse me. Like, it was bad. If you look at my videos from like maybe like November, December 2017, you'll see how much weight I lost. But, I had a genuinely okay time. I felt like I was improving. I did have some issues with my parents. I'm not going to get too into that because that's a little too personal. I don't want to get into family matters. But it was hard. I think it was just hard for my parents to see me in that kind of situation where, like, I don't think they understood how I was feeling. They didn't understand what was going on, and they reacted accordingly. And again, it's nothing against my parents. I love my parents, and I'm not going to shame them or anything. They've done nothing but amazing things for me to try and help me get out of my, situation in my head. But at the time, it was hard. I felt like I felt like in my head, my parents didn't support me, which of course they did, just had different ways of showing it. And when I got out of the hospital, I felt great. Now, I'm going to give a trigger warning here because it's going to get a little bit dark. So if you're easily triggered by self-harm, suicide attempts, fair warning. A month later, after I got out of the hospital, obviously, I went back to my normal life. Still was having the same issues with work. Obviously, more things were going on with my residence, of course. Classes were getting, obviously, really hard, so I was feeling really stressed. Obviously, just getting out of the hospital, my parents, dealing with that and putting a lot of pressure on me in some ways. Just a lot of stress was put on me to the point where one day, it was literally a month, because I remember it. When I first got admitted was October 17th, 2017. The second time I got admitted was November 17th, 2017. Literally a month later. So here's the story. So, one night, I don't even remember what even happened that day. I'll be completely honest. I don't know what was the thing that made me do what I did. But I was off the whole day. My brain space was not there the whole entire day. So one night, I was in my dorm, and like I said, trigger warning, it's gonna get little much. I was in my dorm. My roommate Paige was in her room. We had obviously two separate bedrooms. Her bedroom was on the other side of the room. My room, sorry, car going by. My room is on my side. I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but I went to the kitchen, which is between our two rooms. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen. And at first, it didn't... At first, for me, it wasn't about suicide. At first, I didn't have suicide on the mind, really. It was more about me feeling like I did something wrong, and I was doing everyone wrong, and that I wasn't good enough for anyone. So I locked myself in my room with this knife. It wasn't like... It was a small knife, but it was like one of those jagged, serrated knives, whatever. Almost like a steak knife. And I wanted to punish myself. I felt like I had to take anger out on myself. So I completely slashed my arms. I didn't go here because I was I didn't know, I didn't feel suicidal. I didn't know, because I don't know anything about the body. I don't know if slashing one of the veins you can see here, I didn't know if that would kill me. So I was I just need to release some anger. And granted, I only self-harmed a couple times before, but nothing like this. So I completely slashed from, I was wearing a t-shirt. So from my t-shirt down. So all this arm on the top, and then all this arm on the top. Completely, you can even... I could still see some of the freaking scars, of course. But, both my arms on the top were completely destroyed. And I felt no better. I literally, was in my bed, bleeding, shaking, Like, I don't, like, this is, like, I don't feel any better. Like, I don't feel any better. So, I eventually, like, was thinking about, like, doing the other side, not knowing if that would kill me. Like, I don't know. Like, I know people self-harm on this side, but I don't know. I was never a cutter. I would self-harm in other ways, but never cutting. So, I was going to start cutting on the other side. But then, I heard a knock at, so there's my bedroom, and I had a bedroom door, and then there's the front door that goes, into the hallway of the dorm. So then there's a knock at the door, and I just froze. And obviously I didn't answer it. Like, I was in bed, I was frozen, I just didn't answer it. But Paige did. Paige opened the door, and it was campus police. Apparently, someone, don't know, I still to this day don't know who. I have an idea, but I still don't know who. Called the campus police for a welfare check on me. Because they had noticed I was off during the day and they wanted someone to check on me. And, I mean, if they hadn't done that, I don't know what would have happened, to be honest, but they knocked on my door, and I don't even remember if I answered or not. I do think I did open the door for them. I think eventually, like, I don't know if they talked me into it. That night was a blur, I'll be completely honest. But I think I know I opened the door for them. So they either talked me into opening the door or something. And I opened the door, and, they saw me covered in blood. And they were like, right, we got to get him to the hospital. And the second time I went to the hospital, that one was a nightmare. That honestly, that week, from when I destroyed my arms to when I got out of the hospital, that was probably, because I was in there for another week, and that was probably the worst week of my life. I was scared, beyond petrified, because I saw how my family responded last time. How are they going to respond now that I'm back in here literally a month later? Like, how are they going to respond to that? Like how are my grades going to be affected? I've missed 2 weeks now because of medical. Granted, my professors were very good. Like, all of my professors were very accepting and helpful. Like, I think I still managed to get, like, almost straight A's that semester. Like, I made up work. Like, I worked my ass off to pass and obviously get A's, and I think, like, a couple B's that semester. I think I might have gotten 1 C, actually. I think I got 1 C. But I think it was, like 3 or 4 A's, a B or 2 B's, and a C. Like, I think it was something like that. Which, for everything that was going on, like, I'll take it. But yeah, like, my morale was so much lower in the hospital. There are some, like, very specific things as well that they did. Like, for instance, right, like, checks. Like, in the hospital, if you're an at-risk patient, they'll check up on you every 15 minutes, and if you're good, they'll upgrade you to 30 minutes. I never got upgraded. I didn't eat. I didn't leave my room. I was in the bed basically all day. I didn't do any of the activities. I didn't talk to anyone. I was shut off from all the nurses. I didn't talk to anyone the whole entire time. I mean, I did talk every now and again, but, like, it was a completely different experience. I was so down. I was so depressed. Like, everything felt like it was crumbling around me. The only reason I was able to get out when I did, like I said, I was there for a week. The only reason they didn't hold me longer is because it was Thanksgiving. It was around Thanksgiving, and they said, like that was the reason I begged to be out, so that I could just at least be with my family for Thanksgiving. Maybe that'll help. And the doctors actually, or the nurses and the doctors and all of them agreed. They said, you know what, go and see your family. Maybe that'll help. And ever since then, I've never been back. Literally, I think about 4 or 5 months, maybe a little more, about 6 months after that hospital visit, I just stopped taking the medications. Like I said, they made me sick. They made me lose a bunch of weight. And thankfully, I haven't had any major incidents since then. And I've mainly been on an up climb since then. Now, that's not to say I'm better. Like, I mean, I'm better. But that's not to say I'm 100% myself. And you know what, guys? Literally, as recently as this August, I got depressed again. This August. Because it's not something that you could just stop or change. it's not something you can do. This August, and even a bit into September, I was just having moments where my switch would flip. And you know, it affects the world around you. It affects so much more than people realize. Like, not only within yourself, but obviously in your environment. I went and saw a friend in September, and I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to say names. But you guys probably know who it is. I went and saw a friend in September, and my depression came strong that weekend. Some things triggered it that I'm not going to get into because that's really personal, but it got triggered. That's all that matters. I was just not myself for a majority of my time seeing this friend. And I thought that I knew this friend enough, trusted this friend enough, because I'd opened up to my friend about my issues. Everything I told you today, I told this person. This person knew. This person knew everything. And I had a big anxiety issue. I got really quiet. Like I said, I got really quiet. I got reclusive. I wasn't as social. I wouldn't interact as much. But I tried to force myself to be social, like I mentioned earlier. And that ended up with me and that person not being friends anymore. Because my reclusive nature made everyone uncomfortable, was basically the gist of it. How I reclused myself, how anxious and unconversational I got, made things awkward and uncomfortable for everyone involved. And to his credit, yes, of course, I can understand how that would be hard. But there's some things that I really, like, the main message for this, the reason why I'm telling this story in particular, is because I want people to know that if you have a friend that is having an episode, whether it's someone like me who gets more reclusive, or if it's someone who lashes out, the best thing to do is be understanding with them, have a conversation with them, just talk to them. Let them know, hey, you know, like, I know you're having a moment, we're here for you, but this thing you did might not have been the best, you know? Like, and you know what? Most people who have mental disorders, like myself, are understanding of that, because we know we're not the easiest people to be with. I've said it to this person in particular a bunch, that sometimes I'm not the easiest person to be with. I say this to everyone I meet. I can be hard. I can be really, really hard, because my mood swings can be random. I could just be randomly in a bad mood, and I am never physical. I never yell. I never swear or lash out at someone. Like, that's not me. So, like I try my best to be as good as I could be, but then sometimes I'm just never enough. Alright, sometimes I'm just never enough for people. And it's hard. It's hard not being good enough for someone who you thought you were really close friends with, because of your mental health and who you are just messing things up. That's happened. Stories like that have happened my whole life. I'm not easy to get along with. I have my issues. I try every day to be the best person I can be, and to make, not to sound corny and cheesy, but to make a difference. To use my platform, to use my YouTube channel, as small as it is, for good. And that is why this event, raising money for Center for Suicide Awareness, is important for me. That whole story that you heard, everything there, everything I told you today, has made me who I am. Now, there are some really personal things that I've left out that I'm not quite comfortable to share. But you guys know the main gist of it now. That's who I am. I try my best. I try my best to be a good person. I try my best to do what I can. Do I make mistakes? Yeah. Am I the best person? No. Do I make am I easy? No. Like, I'm a difficult person. I know that, and I recognize that, and I try my best to fight through it. But it's hard. It's hard. And I want people to know that if you know someone who has depression, anxiety, if they have BPD, if they're bipolar, if they have PTSD, schizophrenia, whatever it is, just know that the battle that they are facing, that we are facing in our heads, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't happening, and people need to be more understanding, respectful, and even accommodating for it. I'm not saying you need to change your life to help me. I'm not even saying you have to help me. I'm just saying that we just need to be treated like everyday people. We just need to be treated like we matter, like we're everyday people, and just give us that common courtesy. If we do something wrong, talk to us. Let us know. If I say something wrong, say something stupid, it happens. I am more than happy to rectify that. And that is why I'm here to raise money for Center for Suicide Awareness, so that we can bring this awareness, so that we can bring mental health more into the spotlight and make it more well known. And to be fair, in recent years, it has definitely gotten in the spotlight more, and more people are aware of it, and more people are talking about it. And I'm glad. I'm so glad. But there's more we can do, and helping myself, Riders DX, Sheriff the Great, the whole team, helping us raise a bunch of money to help people who are considering suicide, like I was literally 5 years ago. That's what I want to do to help. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Well, I hope you found it informative. I hope that now that you know that side of me, I've shared it kind of before, but never in this level of detail. Stay tuned for the event, and I'll see you guys later.